10 minutes to 5 and going back into convening into Commissioner's Court. So, you want to make a motion now?
I move that we deny the concept plan for Pacifico based on not meeting the approval criteria in section F. It says, let me give you the exact reference. It is under section 4.2 E. I'm sorry. 4. It says the Commissioner's Court shall determine whether the approval or disapprove the concept plan based on criteria contained in section F, which there's not a road impact study or traffic impact study. There's not adequate public facilities that have been determined. And you said, Clint, what was your? On-site sewer. No.
So what happens if we deny this application, same conditions on Comanche Circle that we conditioned 3?
Yeah, I mean, there are other, let me find it. Do you have that? Oh, here it is. All of these things.
Can Mr. Mills enlighten us on that?
Yeah, there's comprehensive drainage plan is required under the regulations, including sufficient demonstration of the county to the county's Director of Environmental Health, certification of standard or treated wastewater by the on-site wastewater treatment plant and disposal plan for sludge, sufficient demonstration that the project won't adversely impact the watershed, adjacent property owners, and downstream landowners, sufficient demonstration of the project's ability to meet the requirements of the Water Quality District, sufficient demonstration of the ability to protect the rural character of the rural district from the project, sufficient demonstration that the on-site power generation facilities meet the approval criteria required under the regulations, and sufficient demonstration of total water needs for the project, including the needs of any on-site power generation, as well as sufficient demonstration of adequate water facilities or resources to support such needs. And then I would add the traffic impact analysis. That's all in adequate facilities.
Mr. Mills, could you come? Based upon what Commissioner Andrews says, you know, the conditional approval that we did on Comanche Circle versus a denial that we're talking about here, you do understand, as I understand it, that if you do a denial, that the county has to come back and give a basis for every, is that a pretty detailed situation there, Clint?
Have the opportunity to review it. I mean, you have, where does it say that in the regulations that it's approved? Under which, yeah, but we're not, right. But that's for a plat.
It very much specifically said not only applying to something that's subdivided or a plat. It said development plans, site development plans. It was very specific. And in discussing this with people in the development business, they all recognize that this is the time clock put on all types of permits. So
We'll get the approval until all these list of things are
Right.
accomplished. Doesn't that accomplish the same thing with a lot less room for error by just outright denying it, which puts the burden back on the county to tell you every reason why you denied it?
Well, I feel like in studying this and listening to Clint, I would say it functions about the same way. And I mean, that's what you're saying. That's my understanding of it. So in other words, if you say, we'll give you a conditional approval if you do X, Y, Z, okay, well then you come back and show us that you've got X, Y, Z. Or you could say, we deny it based on X, Y, Z, and then come back and show us that you've got X, Y, Z, and you've done those things. Right? I mean, I think it's going to function at the end of the day about the same, right?
Well, so I'm going to second her motion, and because I agree on the denial side, and she stated every reason right out of the 4.2 why. So we don't have to come back and do anything else with that. Under 231 subsection K, and I would say 232 doesn't apply anyway.
conditions for two different projects. One was conditionally approved and one was denied. I think that is a huge red flag for inconsistency on us in this.
Then let's call, we got a motion on the table and a second. Call a vote.
I'm not, we're discussing it.
Well, from what I heard, and I didn't get all that down, but I mean, it seems like the sailfish conditions were more lengthy than what I just heard on Pacifico, which maybe that's ironic when sailfish is further away from the river, but I mean, because that in the sailfish deal, it was, you know, protect the rural quality of the rural district and multiple other things. It sounded like, I don't have it all memorized, but it sounded like your list was shorter than the one that was given to sailfish. But I just want to make sure that I would just recommend, you know, get things that are enforceable, that are substantiated under the law, and hold them to those things, right? But yeah, to your point, Kevin, it's not what we did last time with sailfish. And so if you want to just be consistent, and of course, this is what Blakely was recommending earlier, was, you know, conditional approval, do these things and we'll approve you.
That's what I'm saying is that our legal counsel said it's better to do the conditional approval rather than the denial. I don't understand all of it myself either way. Do you agree with that, Clint, or not?
Texas, in 2023, the Texas legislature approved House Bill 3697, which amended Chapter 232 of the Texas Local Government Code relating to county regulations of subdivisions and approval of subdivision plans or plats, and removed the word plan. So
in this section, and this is 232-00285, in this section, development plan includes a preliminary plat, preliminary subdivision plan, subdivision construction plan, site plan, general plan, land development application, or site development plan. Unless explicitly authorized by another law of the state, a county may not require a person to submit a development plan during the plat approval process required by this subchapter. that is dealing with that. If a county is authorized under another statute or another law of this state to require approval of a development plan, the county must comply with the approval procedures under this subchapter during the approval process.
That doesn't reference concept plan. I didn't hear it. It's development plan.
By that exact word, concept plan, no, but it says development plan includes preliminary plat, preliminary subdivision plan, subdivision construction plan, site plan, general plan, land development application, or site development plan. So clearly the intent, and reading some of the backstory on this, the intent here was to put these things on a shot clock for the 30-day deal and involve the same approval procedures for all of these things. I'm not voting a way that I want or I feel or whatever else. I feel that we are obligated to follow the law as closely as possible, and I think that means we have to vote with this in mind. 232-00285 is part of the development regulations with all the various ways spelled out there, and looking at the way that other cities, municipalities, counties, everybody else started implementing this thing immediately, everything about that fits into it.
Well, if I could just jump in on two things there. I tried to do a deep dive into that subsection that you're talking about, and I even read notes that were joining the House bill that went with it in 2019, and I'm still not 100% sure. Okay, that maybe needs to be litigated in court to determine that. And the title of the chapter of 232 is subdivisions, right? So you could say, well, everything under that whole thing is subdivisions. The problem with that is twofold. One, 2 weeks ago when we had Sailfish in here, three of our officials, you, the judge, and Clint, were all quoting from 232, and Blakely was nodding like this, and we kind of represented that we're under 232. So that's one problem. The second problem is if we say we're under 245 or 231, I don't see a parallel in those chapters to 232. In other words, here's the process, here's the clock, here's what you have to do to approve, deny, da-da-da-da-da. There's not that parallel for industrial development like there is for subdivisions in 232. And so logically, if you say you're not approved by default, in other words, if the court doesn't act at all, you're not approved by default after 30 days if you're industrial, okay? If you make that contention, then it would seem to me if there's no shot clock whatsoever, that they could submit a concept plan, an industrial development concept plan, and you could say, well, we're thinking about it. And then 6 months later, they're like, what's going on? You say, well, we're thinking about it. And then a year later, we're thinking about it. And there's nothing holding your feet to the fire to ever make a decision, which, I mean, eventually, I guess you just get sued. But I feel like there should be some logical clock to, you know, either approve it or deny it with reasons or give conditional approval and say, you got to do these things, right? I mean, logically, that would make sense. Does that all kind of make sense? So, I mean, I've been wrestling with this a lot lately, and I sent you an email late yesterday about 245, and I just, it is not a parallel to 232 for here's subdivisions and here's industrial development. It's just, it's not the same language, right? So that's kind of my heartburn, but I don't know if I've answered anybody's question. I'm just expressing some of the things I've been wrestling with, right?
I haven't answered my question.
Okay, sorry.
What is the best thing for us to
Well,
do? Is it deny it or conditionally approve it?
I think you're fine either way. I mean, you're giving him the same marching orders, I feel like, either way, right? You're saying do X, Y, Z, and come back and see us, right?
Well, if we're denying it, we're not saying come back and see us. We're just denying
Well, I
it.
get that. I mean, yeah, you could.
But if he wants to come back with a concept plan that meets the criteria,
Right.
then we look at it again. It's that, I mean, I don't understand what the problem is with the reasoning here. And I agree, and I disagree with Commissioner Andrews on his interpretation of 232. I don't think it reaches out across everywhere. It's 232. It says it applies to the statutory scheme within it. I don't think you reach out from 232 and apply it to every other statute in the local government code.
So where's the methodology for industrial development? Where is the process for submitting a plan, getting approval, when the Commissioners Court has to act? That's my question. Where is it? It's not under 245. It's not, you know. So we're left in this kind of weird limbo of what marching orders do they have to go under? When do they present it, and when does it have to be approved and voted on and all that kind of thing?
Those are excellent questions.
If it's not 232, it's not there, in my opinion. It hadn't been cited. It's not in 245. It's not in subchapter K. Subchapter K is not a step-by-step process of approval. It's just, here's some additional powers that you get to do in Hood County. Well, table is not a good word, I don't think. You know, well, for a lot of reasons, but one is, you know, I feel like you, under all the legal counsel that you've received from me and Blakely and everybody else, you got to either say you got to say one way or the other what's lacking, what's not here, what are you missing? It's either through a denial and this is what's missing, or conditional approval and this is what's missing, and the what's missing is the same either way, I think.
It's a different project altogether, that's for sure. I mean, every project should be viewed differently, but they are different. There's some that have more topography issues, some have water issues. All of them look like have drainage issues for basis of it, but more so than another. So it could be a distinction, but I thought it was the easier thing. You say it's the same thing. Conditional approval is less work for the county because you don't have to go back and state all the reasons why you denied it if you do just an outright straight denial from your perspective.
I think you need to state the reasons either way. Because if you say we deny it just because we don't want data centers in Hood County, you are big time losing your lawsuit. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And that's the other dilemma that I have is if you say we need your wastewater, we need your drainage study, we need your traffic impact study, whatever the thing is, and they come back and they lay it on your table and they say, here it is, we've done everything. You know, the community doesn't want you to vote for it anyway. I mean, everybody hears that, but now, you know, it's like, well, now what do you do, right? A couple of months from now, a year from now, whenever that may be, right?
Final step.
Right. But you're telling him, we need X, Y, and Z, whatever, in your motion. So. Oh, sorry.
This is just one question for the court. When I look at here to the mic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chris Paulson, right?
Chris Paulson again. This is just one question for the court. And I know you did a conditional denial on Sailfish. I was here for that, and we're looking at the other on this. Here's my question on it is, I looked at your agenda, and that's the reason I'm here today. I noticed you had both of these data centers on here. Well, one of them's not a data center, power plant, hopefully data center, but the other's a data center. And I thought, you know, we got a moratorium we're going to vote on February 20th and see if that can slow things down. February 10th. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry, got my date wrong. February 10th. So this is what I was thinking, if you guys did a denial and there was nothing in the works by February 10th and you had a moratorium, does that, if you say conditional approval, does that mean I've approved of it and that's going to keep going? But if you have a moratorium in place, when that comes back, does that shut it down until you have regulations? That's my question for you guys.
What do you think about what he just said?
I'll even echo what Blakely's told us. They turned it in with the rules that we have on the books now. They're going to be judged under the rules we have under the books now.
That's right.
So,
That's what she said. That's
right, right.
So they're going in under the wire then, basically, on that.
We're not in the public hearing anymore. We're in Commissioner's Court. Okay, do you have the motion down, Christine, that she made, that Commissioner Samuelson made? She made the motion to deny.
Motion to deny the concept plan, and then she read the approval criterias from the statute there, from the regulations.
Also including the traffic impacts analysis.
Anything else, Clint? Did you get that too, Christine?
Motion to find the county shall seek additional information from the applicant to evidence that the project will not adversely affect the physical environment.
I can't hear you.
Sorry. The county shall seek additional information from the applicant to evidence that the project will not adversely affect the physical environment, and in particular, the water quality of the county's water resource, and that the project will not adversely affect adjacent land use.
I do, I've got it.
Second that.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
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 All those opposed to the motion as stated, say nay. 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 So the motion fails by a vote of 3-2. So you want to make another motion now, Commissioner? I know. I don't either.
Make a motion to conditionally approve the concept plan of Pacifico Spunky LLC project submission to the applicant's ability to evidence the following to the county's satisfaction prior to submission of a site plan application. A comprehensive drainage plan as required under the regulations, including sufficient demonstration to the county's Director of Environmental Health or the equivalent position that the on-site wastewater treatment plant will not generate treated wastewater greater than can be accommodated by the drainage plan for the site, accounting for other occurring runoff and drainage. And certification of the standard of treated wastewater by the on-site wastewater treatment plant and disposal plan for sludge. TCQ. Sufficient demonstration that the project won't adversely impact the watershed, adjacent property owners, or downstream landowners and users. Sufficient demonstration of the project's ability to meet the requirements of the Water Quality District. Sufficient demonstration of the ability to protect the rural character of the rural district of the project. Sufficient demonstration that the on-site power generation facilities meet the approval criteria requirement under the regulations, sufficient demonstration of total water needs for the project, including the needs of any on-site power generation, as well as sufficient demonstration of adequate water facilities or resources to support such water needs. And additionally, a traffic impact analysis. The county shall seek additional information from the applicant to evidence that the project will not adversely affect the physical environment and in particular the water quality of the county's water resources, and that the project will not adversely affect adjacent land uses. The Pacifico Spunky LLC project shall be subject to a concept plan conditionally approved on this, the 13th day of we're the 27th, 29th day of January 2025, and the county development permit regulations in place as of this same date and time. Same date and the date the concept plan was submitted.
Second.
29th, I think we corrected that. I said 27th, but we corrected that to
Got all that down, Christine? Okay, and that's seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, 3-2. Okay. Now we go to subsection D, to public hearing to discuss and consider the concept plan for Project Spectrum. So at this time at 5:17, we are now convening into a public hearing. And at this time, well, lo and behold, we have, do y'all know Chris Polson here? Mr. Polson, your family has sent a note up to me, said,
Yeah,
would
where
you
is
send
it?
our dad home?
Well,
I don't know.
My livestock are saying, where's their feed right now? I got to get on a tractor when I get home. Again, this appears to be a 1,517 acre project, and it doesn't really say a lot about, you know, whether it's a once-through unit or not. From what I'm looking at, it looks like it's a once-through cooling on it, not a closed loop. But this is, I understood, as Vistra said, is this on Comanche Peak property? It is on their property completely. Is it under your watershed rules, even though it is on their property? Because I noticed if you go up the top of the legend on this thing, it lists it as both a park and an agricultural region on that. And, you know, because that's what it says right up, or it does somewhere on that. Where is that? Maybe it's not on that sheet. No, it's somewhere in their description on it, but it is a park. Part of it's park and part of it is agricultural production on it. There's not really much detail as far as how much power it's going to use, what it's hooking up to. I don't know. I'm supposing Vistra at Comanche Peak is supplying the power to this. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want the Vista to come on up.
Is that correct? Yeah, come on up. I'll yield the podium.
Yeah, so it's been a very public announcement. We've entered a PPA with Amazon and we've contracted 1,200 megawatts of
And PPA is,
power purchase agreement.
thank you.
And that's lucrative for them. I mean, that's pulling 1,200 megawatts out of the public grid for commercial application, and they can earn more money doing that than out bidding in the public grid. In other words, Amazon will pay them more for their power than they could earn out on the public. So that's removing 1,200 megawatts out of the public. Your power bill just went up. Future phase, I have no idea how big this is going to be, how much power it's going to do. I don't know anything about drainage, anything else. There's just not a lot of detail to it. It was just real confusing to me. Is this a once-through cooling on this? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know a lot of detail on this at all, period. Very little detail. So, I don't know. It's in your watershed. There's really no detail on, other than they're supplying the water for it and Vistra is supplying the power for it. But there's really not much else. There's transformers shown. There's nothing shown about any buildings being out there or anything else. So I don't know if there's enough detail to even work with. That's my gist on the Spectrum project.
She is still.
So each one of those little squares is a separate sheet, and I went through each one of those sheets. And so I noticed that you said you had 1,050 employees for this?
I'm sorry?
1,050 employees
For that project or Comanche Peak?
for that project? That's what it said.
I don't have the answer to that.
Can you look at the answers on employees? I think it said 1,050.
A summary sheet for Project Spectrum.
There are engineers in the audience. Maybe they could ask.
On the big file, the 139-page file. So anyhow, the topography on this was hard to read, but it does go from about 850 on the north end down to about 770 on the south end. And I noticed that you've got the new phase and you've got the future phase. And it seems to me that the future phase is probably that lower floody area. I don't know. There's not a lot of information about that. But with 1,050 employees, there's a little parking and a little security office at the front, but no parking lot for the employees. So I was wondering about that. And the evaporation ponds, you have one that's at 25 acres, another one that's at probably around 10 acres. It wasn't labeled. And I wanted to know what's being evaporated.
Is that a question you want me to answer or one answer?
Yes, if you could.
Okay, so I can't answer that particular question. So from a Vistra standpoint, Vistra's providing the power. This is a project that's on our property. We've already talked about that. We're providing the power for it and we're providing the water. So I have, very high level details on those, but I don't have the specifics on that project itself.
Okay. And then I noticed that it's adjacent to Squaw Valley Park.
Squaw Valley.
Squaw Creek Park, I'm sorry.
You mean our park? Yeah.
Yes,
Park.
so it's next to the park. And then you have a sound barrier wall, a 12-foot sound barrier wall around it. So I really don't have any other questions for you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Last speaker is Judy Hatch. You're done? All right, well, adios. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything at this point? Okay, Matt Long.
In the interest of time, I would just bring up the same concerns as before about water and wastewater, seeing as it's in a water quality district. Isn't that correct?
Matthias Halbert, 2600 Network in Frisco, Texas.
What was your name? I'm sorry.
Matthias Halbert. Okay. I've got a form. I'll hand it over to you. The civil engineer for the project. We are proposing intake and discharge structures into the reservoir owned by Vistra. It's got capacity for that. We've been in close contact with Vistra. Patrick mentioned earlier that they own the rights to that reservoir. And so we're in close contact. That's a part of the lease agreement with the tenant on this deal.
And the company you're with is?
Bowler Engineering. These are our plans. There's questions on the phasing. I mean, there's buildings that are very clear and buildings that are not. That's a future phase.
Well, the problem is this is what you submitted. It weighs 7.
You got it.
It weighs 7 pounds. I went home and weighed it. It can't be rendered on any of our computers. Our IT department couldn't print it. Our
there were requirements in the code about scale being 40 scale sheets, and that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a big project.
Yeah.
I don't know how many AT&T stadiums it is. I know you
I'll
brought that
tell
up.
you.
You got the
I'll
number.
tell you, yeah, I got the number.
But that's
But
the
it-
reason for that
yeah,
is they're
it
40
could-
scale sheets.
That's,
We can flatten it, but no promises that it's still not going to be a large file.
yeah.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
I'll make a
we
note of
couldn't
that.
print it. It locked up the computer. Our, the attorney that was, supposed to be able to review it, she couldn't review it because she couldn't, her IT department, bigger than the county IT department, they
Sure.
couldn't print it. She wasn't able to render it on her computer. So, yeah, so the review of this project actually by our attorney, or I don't know if any of y'all were able to somehow magically get it. I mean, Clint gave me this, but but it didn't have a summary page, so it was not, so the questions, pages we were going over, you probably saw them with the other
Yeah,
two
I'm familiar with
projects.
that.
There was nothing like that for us to even get a high-level ability to review it, so,
Okay.
yeah, so that, you want to know that now, the AT&T?
Go for it. You're on a roll.
Yeah, so 1,517 acres is 11 AT&T stadiums, including all the parking lots. 768, which is the area under, sorry, it's 5:30, I can't remember what it is. Disturbance, there we go, is 5.5 AT&T stadiums, which is bigger than Lockheed Martin. So Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth, their footprint is 605 acres. So, yeah, it's huge. And we, the traffic, I couldn't tell if there was a traffic study in there.
So we're working
Traffic
with
impact
staff.
analysis.
That's in progress right now.
Yeah, so,
Understood that the conversation with staff was that would be a part of the site development permit, but it's in progress as we speak.
So, someone said, well, yeah, they've submitted all this, but just because it's big and a lot doesn't mean that it's conforming,
Sure.
So, you did a lot of work, and I'm sure it cost a lot of money, but can't tell if it's conforming because I can't read it. I can't bring it up on my computer. I can't, I wasn't able to print it until yesterday I got this. So, yeah.
We can give an overall plan like you see on the screen. The challenge is adding all the detail, setbacks, buffers, things like that. So understood on the concern, Commissioner, but the challenge on our side is how do you give all the detail at 1,500 acres and still make it legible and make sure all that detail is still in there. So
It's massive. It's 5 AT&Ts. It's bigger than Lockheed Martin.
understood. Any other questions?
I would if well, these guys know me. Don't ask me if I have any questions. But I don't have any questions because don't have anything to review.
Okay.
I'll keep it very brief, sir. I don't know how y'all are going to get through this. This is a lot. This has actually got a lot of detail in it, and for that's good. That's good because we've all been operating under finding out very little detail at the last minute. But I would just implore this court, I don't know how you do it, but you're going to have to find a way to see the totality of all these developments and the impact they're going to make on this community. And at the same time, I understand, and I'm sure you do too, but each individual project has to be viewed differently. I don't know how you're going to make your peace with that. The only way that I can come up with something is for you guys to find the help that you clearly need. And I think that moratorium that y'all are going to vote on February 10th is going to provide some clarity. So I just want to reiterate, I mean, this is a lot of data and there's a lot of unknown data, and you can't make an informed, intelligent decision in a short amount of time on something like this. So we're we're looking to y'all's leadership and good luck, because this is a titanic job that you have before you.
Yes, you want to state your name?
I certainly will. So, Judge, Commissioners, my name is Andrea Hutchins. I'm on the Economic Development team at Amazon Web Services. So would like to, first of all, thank you for allowing us to have ample time to review the plat, work with staff who has been absolutely fantastic to work with, and realizing that we've been talking about this project now with Vistra for well over a year, understanding that this is not an easy decision for you all as commissioners, and that you all are hearing from your constituents and you want to do what's best for your community. But I do want to just maybe iterate for the folks that are here today and doing their duty with making sure that the Commissioners Court is hearing their voices. And that is that Amazon Web Services has been doing this particular line of work now for 20 years. This is our 20th anniversary this year, and has been indicated a few times, this is kind of the gold rush, if you will, of the industry, not because this is something new for us. If we talk about gold by any stretch of the imagination, I would like to believe that AWS is the gold standard when it comes to these type of developments. We certainly have the largest market share in this particular industry, and we have over 900 data center campuses around the globe. So when we talk about data centers and quality products, this is something that we have been perfecting for 20 years. So understanding that if you're going to approve a concept, know that your partners at Vistra and your neighbors at Vistra did a lot of pre-vetting on who the best company would be to bring to your community. And also know that when we come into a community and make an investment, it is not just a concept plan we build and you never hear from us again. The work that we do is community focused. We are consistently one of the top employers around the globe. Those employees that we're talking about, from construction workers to data center employees having those wonderful blue collar tech jobs, are going to be part of your community. There are a lot of folks that I have heard from over the past 6 months. You have a very friendly community. Folks are really willing to talk about things. A lot of folks are actually excited about some of the jobs that this could bring. I understand that there's a lot of unknown, and sometimes with that unknown, there comes fear, and I totally understand that. But please do know that should AWS decide to construct in this community, that we will be a part of the community. That is a commitment that we always make when we show up as neighbors, and it's not something that's going to be any different here in Hood County. So thank you.
On an article yesterday of 16,000 people being laid off at Amazon.
Is there a question about that?
It was in the news yesterday.
Well, yeah, and Union Pacific hires and fires people all the time. Businesses have a tendency to do that. So it doesn't mean that one particular industry or piece of the company is maybe more important than another. It's simply just a business decision.
Yeah. Do you have any questions on the project? I do have some general questions. Are you familiar with Ken Paxton's Attorney General opinion that was just issued on January 19th? Yes.
No, ma'am. I'm not tracking an Attorney General opinion on January 19th.
So Amazon has let me find it. Do you have a policy on DEI?
I am not familiar with the corporate HR policies.
Yeah. So, Attorney General opinion. This was just recently, but our nation was, this is the summary, it's about a 17-page opinion. But the summary says, our nation was founded on the radical notion that all are created equal. Though we have often failed to live up to that promise, it remains as a constitutional lodestar. both in the U.S. and the Texas constitutions. The race and sex-based public sector preferences discussed in this opinion cannot survive strict scrutiny and are therefore unconstitutional. Further, a large body of DEI practice in the private sector triggers liability under Title VII, the Texas Constitution of Human Rights Act, and the Section 1981, in addition to the state and federal laws. So somewhere in all this paper that I've been preparing, there are some references on your website about DEI.
So I don't know whether or not DEI is relevant to a concept site plan, but understanding that our business practices for hiring are something that are decided at a corporate level. And I can't speak to Attorney General Paxton's January 19th ruling, but I can tell you that data center recruitment is one of the top 10 industries in the state of Texas that Governor Abbott has put forth in his economic development plan, and also that President Trump has put forth 3 executive orders to support the development of data centers.
I just want to ensure you are aware that your hiring practices are consistent with Texas law.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yes,
there's also, let's see, are you aware that Amazon has a policy for paying for young women to go out of state to have an abortion?
No, ma'am. Again, I can't speak to the HR policies at the corporate level.
Amazon announced following the May 2022 overturning of Roe v. Wade, Amazon announced it would reimburse U.S. employees up to $4,000 annually for travel and related expenses. So just be aware that those practices are frowned on in Texas, and there are some civil litigation that can take place.
Very much noted. Thank you.
So without, y'all don't have any, are you closing the hearing? Yeah, you can.
Anybody else? I just want to know how much power all total for the proposed projects and all that. Chris, you've been up there enough. You got to speak. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Ron. We're on first name basis now. I just want to know how much total power, it looks like more than 1,200 megawatts. Is it going to be 1,200 megawatts for that 15-17?
Chris, we're contracted for 1,200 megawatts.
But that's for right now. Is that for the proposed future?
That's the current agreement in place, yes. I mean,
That's for what you have now, but you have future proposed stuff out there, so we don't know how much power that's going to consume?
I think.
Is that correct?
If I'm not interpreting wrong, I think what you're seeing on there, so, I mean, it's not like you can build a building that can take all 1,200 overnight. Right?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, is that right now, what is conceptually drawn over here, that's going to be your 1,200 megawatts right now, and future phase may take more power?
No, all future phases included would be for the
1,200 megawatts, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I got a couple of things that I'm troubled by. And what relevance is it to a concept plan? You be the judge. And this is nothing, and I want we came out there and you were very cordial to us, and we went out there and looked at the property, and this is nothing personal.
Sure.
What I'm getting ready to talk about.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So please don't take it that way. We were first approached on July the 14th with this project. And we met a lot of nice people. And we were approached, and I'm looking at it from my perspective in retrospect.
Sure.
I felt like we were approached in a divide and conquer way, because each commissioner was pulled out by twos and met with these folks, very nice people, They have very good intentions, I'm sure. But we were approached to do a 381 agreement initially. And a 381 agreement is an agreement under Chapter 381 to, it's not an abatement program, although it kind of is. They don't want to call it that. They call it loan or grant back, which
Rebate.
I don't know what the legislature's thinking to tap dance around abatement, but whatever the case, we talked about a 381 agreement, and but I didn't see anything for a while, but we talked about it. And their goal initially was to have some sort of, have us make a decision in September. Meet me for the first time in mid-July and have me vote on something in mid-September. And again, this is nothing personal. You do what your marching orders too. But here's the position that when I look back at it, that it put us in. And it's very disconcerting to me. It put us in a position, A, to start making quick decisions, which never a quick decision is a good decision, ever, that I've learned in my life. And I've started feeling more and more pressure about it, and I started getting less and less enamored with the deal. And we were finally presented with a proposed 381 agreement, like within a week or two, shortly before they wanted to put us on the agenda. And the agreement proposed a 40-year deal with us, that we sign off on a 40-year deal, and they wanted 90% of their taxes back. 90%. And I guess if you look at the solid numbers over a piece of ag property out here that's arguably getting $10 a year in taxes versus 90% of $1,000 a year, let's say, just as, I don't know what the numbers would be, but it would still net maybe more money than what it's getting now as ag. So 10% of it would still look better on the books to us. I looked at that pretty seriously, and I reached the point, and I think I made the comment to y'all, that I had two ex-wives that they wanted, that I've been divorced from, and they wanted a 90% deal, and I get 10%. That's the way it felt to me. And so here's what I'm struggling with. This concept plan, we haven't been able to get our hands around. At least I haven't. I don't think anybody else up here has. Well, so there's a 6-month, there's you a 6-month project looking through that. But I have serious trust issues. I don't know if I trust what we've been presented today or what we're being asked to look at today based on past history. And again, this is nothing, absolutely not, you're sitting here, standing here, but you were always very, I felt like, straight up with me. And you answered questions that I asked you pretty forthright, and I appreciate that. But over time, I started developing these theories looking back in retrospect. When I look at the magnitude of a, what is it, $2.4 trillion, is it 2.4 trillion? $2.5 trillion company wanting to come in here and get a tax abatement from the county. Not an abatement. A 381.
Rebate. Yes.
I hate to call it kickback, but kind of sounds like that. But anyway, it's not that either, Dave. Shut up. So the theory was that they had the power out here, or this is the conclusion I came to. They got the power out here. They got the property. They got a deal made. They're going to do this deal whether we give them a nickel, whether Whether we do any kind of a deal with them, they're going to do it. So why do anything with them? And here's the thing that we had to argue, that we had to struggle with. If we do no kind of a deal with them, and I'm giving you thought processes right now. I'm telling you thought processes. If I get in trouble for this, I do. That if we do some kind of a deal with them, at least we can put certain stipulations on them that may be enforceable, that maybe they would adhere to, that maybe they otherwise wouldn't do. Although they tell us they're going to be good neighbors, right? They've been telling us they're going to be good neighbors. So obviously their whole plan was they're going to come here, whatever. And over the course since July the 14th, the first time I talked to these people, July 9th was that letter. Remember the letter we just rescinded? That was the first time most of us even saw anything about a data center other than reading about it, ethereally, or on a post, on some sort of news post or whatever. Since then, I've learned a whole lot. We've had commissioners go out to Abilene, and I started, what are these data centers? What are they doing? And I learned a whole lot about it. And the more I learned about them, we don't even understand all the magnitude. I'm sure your company, Amazon's on the tip of the spear with it. But I've been a delegate to every Republican state convention in Texas for the last 12, 14 years. And a little over a year and a half ago, I went to that convention, and there was not one drop of talk about a data center. There was a lot of talk about BESS, battery storage, and solar farms that were spreading out, and wind farms that spread out over the countryside. But not one thing about a data center, because it wasn't in the forefront of people's knowledge. And at least speaking for myself up here, it's only been the last few months that I've had an opportunity to start understanding a little bit about the iceberg of data centers. And I'm saying all this because I've read part of this Ken Paxton opinion on diversity, equity, inclusion, and talking about hiring practices and many areas that good neighbors are going to bring in, these big companies bring in with them, which is something to think about. Supplier diversity, there's requirements for their suppliers, their vendors. So that's a potential being brought in. And again, getting back to what we're doing here today is whether or not we're going to approve this concept plan, I guess. But I guess I'm just trying to explain to you guys the dilemma that we end up sitting up here trying to sort through the social ramifications, the ramifications to our souls potentially. What is going on with this data center in the big picture, the data that they collect on us. I could really go down some rabbit holes with this part of it. But I'm very skeptical of that concept plan, because it's not a flat clean little space out there to put this on. It looks like this. And in order to even start putting something out there, there's going to be a lot of dynamiting going on. There's going to be a lot of dirt work. Huge equipment out there ripping these hills up to make flat, because you can't build on it. You can't build on this type of surface. You got to flatten it out. And I guess I'm saying all this because I need to get that. I need everybody out here to be thinking about all the there's 392 and counting, like a month ago or so, data centers in Texas, either coming in or proposed. And the one out in Abilene's not near the size of the ones that are being proposed here. And I've heard, I didn't go out there, but I haven't heard, I've heard it's very uncomfortable while they're building it. And if you're going to be building one building after the other, you could be building for years, right? Because they're kind of modular, so to speak. You get one finished, get it running, then you start another one, get the second one finished, get it running. And that's pretty much
Absolutely.
about right.
Yep.
So maybe none of this is on point to this, but this is not a, we're up here trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. I think every one of us sitting up here.
Judge, Judge, do you mind if I respond to just a few of those? Okay, so just briefly, I understand the recent ruling from Attorney General Paxton is obviously having an impact, but I do just want to iterate that we operate in all 50 states across the country, and we have data center campuses on every continent except for Antarctica. And we do so within all of the rules of every jurisdiction that we're abiding in. So, again, I understand that, this may be new, but it was certainly not on the books at the time when we presented the concept site plan. All of that being said, I do want to also address the incentive discussion. So as a matter of our business plan, we seek local incentives when we come into a community, often because we end up giving a lot back to that community. We have programs in every community that we're currently operating in, and if they're not already in existence, they're being stood up. Across the United States, we have a program called In Communities that partners to create opportunities for scholarships, for businesses, all sorts of things. Our workforce and training programs are funded very, very well. I'm sure that everyone who has a business or has been in business understands that you are in business because you are making a profit. And so that does go into part of our business model, is that we seek tax incentives because of the high price of our equipment that goes into the buildings. So we're talking several hundred millions of dollars worth of equipment in every single one of those buildings. And because they are taxed so heavily, it is really important, if we continue with those future phases, to be able to lean on those tax incentives to be able to continue with those future phases. So that's why we look at that. And the reason that we had submitted for a Chapter 381 agreement, I've done economic development personally for 20 years. I've done it in the state of Texas. I've done it for a commissioner's court. One of the things that I have had experience with is that for a number of commissioners, if they are able to lean on a rebate, it means we pay our taxes in full, and we do exactly what we promised to do in that agreement, and you all can hold our feet to the fire before you issue a check. So doing that does give you all a little bit more room to be able to make sure that we do all of the things that you have already questioned that we're going to do, that we say that we're going to do. So I realize that, Chapter 381 agreements, they're a little bit controversial, I think, in some communities. But the good thing about them is that they're flexible enough that you all as commissioners have the ability to put the regulations that you want on them. So that was the reason for that particular incentive. And I think that was everything that you mentioned. But
So let me, so are y'all, I haven't seen any sign of it lately. Are you still seeking a 381 agreement with this county?
I'd be happy to continue that discussion with the court if that is your wish. It certainly would, be beneficial for us to be able to make decisions on future phases and full employment. But at this point, we had been asked to kind of step back for a little while because there was a lot going on in the community, and we're certainly not trying to make things worse. So if the court is interested in continuing that discussion, we would be happy to have it.
A couple of things. In the last, previous discussions, the 381 agreement, the numbers have changed downward, in benefit to the county, number one. Number two, 2 weeks ago, right now, I was actually on an Amazon site being built in Canton, Mississippi. Didn't go there for that purpose. I was going en route to North Carolina for a speaking engagement. Did go there, first off, witnessed a current data center that's operational. No noise, no smoke. And when I say no noise, My wife of 57 years has ears of a bat, and that is not a slam at her. She has excellent, super hearing. She's not hearing anything. I'm not hearing anything. I cranked up my hearing aids all the way to max. There's no smoke coming out of that structure. In fact, there's a Coca-Cola bottling plant right adjacent to it. You got more noise coming from that Coca-Cola bottling plant than you do from the data centers. It's fully functional. Their generators are outside, are covered and protected, soundproofed. And there's nothing, there. There's houses within a half mile, nice houses within a half mile. From there, we go to a site, 760-something acres, that they're building as we speak, 2,500 plus employees. Right there.
How many?
2,500 plus. What's interesting is there's over 100 subcontractor trailers on that property, and every one of them has their own black box for sewer. The local sewer, septic guy quadrupled his workforce, and they're out there every day. The workers that are there working during the day don't leave to go to lunch. Food trucks are coming in, a massive amount of food trucks. And yeah, at some point, some of those workers are going to leave and ask the questions of the site superintendent. Well, what percentage of hiring local? And he said it varies based on the actual job, whether it's electrician, whether it's plumbers, whether it's AC. They get as much as they can from there, from the locals. Some of the people are already saying they're going to stay. Some of them are saying they're going to leave. I mean, that's just the nature of the construction world. But having witnessed how they're operating, having seen what their systems are, how they function, in my opinion, of the ones that we've been presented, the three of them now, this one far exceeds everything else that's been brought before this court. And, I've got pictures to back up what I just said. And that is, my position on it. Thank you.
Yes. Speaking of that, you brought a lot of things. You've witnessed it too, the same things that we witnessed when we went to look at Stargate, the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have 5,000 to 7,000 workers out there, or 10, they said they had 7,000 during the day and 3,000 at night. The concern was that there were RV parks popping up everywhere. Massive RV, somebody testified to that today, the massive RV parks that are out there. See, I was just reading through my notes when I spoke with the commissioner out there. He said 400 to 500 belly dumps a day, completely tore up the roads. They had to shut down a county road to be able to, so people could get to work. It, destroyed a TxDOT road. Let's see. Causing an increase of expenses for road maintenance. So that's you mentioned the 381s, but that doesn't really kick in until you're finished.
Sure.
And the construction is when all the damage is happening. So the damage is going to happen for 3 to 5 years, but we won't see, the tax revenue you don't get the valuation of the complete until it's occupied. Those are operational.
Those are things that we can take up with the court if you'd like. From the financial aspect of things, we can talk a little bit more in depth about maybe what our plans are, what TxDOT's plans are, so on and so forth, especially when it comes to the financial sides of things. What I can tell you, a couple things. When it comes to Stargate, and I'm certainly not speaking disparagingly about their project because frankly, I have not been out there. But what I can tell you is that there's a lot of other new projects that are happening across the country with developers of all sorts. And for Stargate, I believe that this is their very first campus. So they don't have 20 years worth of lessons learned on construction. So we understand that there is some disruption to the community, but that's another reason why it's important for us to have these agreements in place, is because for us, this is a partnership. When we come into a community, I have somebody, I'm going to pick on my land development partner who's back there in the back. We work on land development agreements where they're necessary. If we know that we're going to tear up a road, we already have agreements in place well beforehand to oftentimes leave that road better than we found it. There's some communities that we're working in where they have asked us to install stoplights. They've asked us to widen roads. They've asked us to do a lot of things that actually ends up benefiting the long term of their community. I don't know what the long-term plan is for, the roads around the community, but if that's something that you all want to discuss, I think we'd be happy to have that discussion.
Yeah. So I think protecting the rural nature of the county is what's in subchapter K. So the sheriff, when we were out there, he said the infrastructure was not prepared. He referenced the belly dumps again, lines of trucks down the road. People are living out of their trucks parked in bar ditches, dumping gravel up and down the road. Some of them didn't have safety latches. A lot of new drivers. So this is similar to what happens anytime there's a boom in something. People are drawn to it because they want to make money and earn a living, whatever.
Yeah.
So what he mentioned was that there were a lot of truck drivers and trucks that he was seeing on the road that looked as if they were taken out of a wrecking yard and gotten at least so that it could drive down the road, even if it was driving down the road sideways a little bit crooked because it had frame damage, because the price that was being paid to do trips and dump gravel and create all the concrete and that's going to have to be laid there for your data centers and roads to get around your buildings. I mean, whether you're the first time you've done it or this is the 20th time you've done it, you still have to lay the gravel in the roads and the concrete. So you're still going to have all that construction equipment coming in and out.
So we do a bulk of that on site. So I don't have any construction folks with me here today. I brought almost everybody but them. So when it comes to the construction phase of things, we do construction so much that it is not impacting the area around it as much as we can. We have one community where we're paying for car washes for the people next door because they complained about dust. When I tell you that this is something that we take very seriously, I can't tell you everything that's going to happen at this site, and I think you all have already indicated that. But when I tell you that we will take the issues that do arise seriously and act upon them quickly, I can guarantee you that we will do that. Yeah. I do want to just also reference, you had made mention about some of the trucks and things like that. We use a lot of the same companies for a number of these projects, and we work with a general contractor who we make sure kind of helps to keep some of this stuff reined in. And then I stay a part of the project from start to finish and then even after that as well. So again, when we talk about the partnership side of things, the communities that I'm working in, they have my cell phone number. They can call me, and if there's a single truck that is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, I want to know about it. I'm sorry that you had that experience when you were in Abilene, but I can tell you that when Commissioner Wilson came to Mississippi, that was not his experience. And I would be happy to invite you to come to one of our campuses because I can't speak to what somebody else is doing.
But you still have to get the materials from where it is to your campus, and that happens with trucks.
Sure, absolutely. But we're not having people operating 24 hours a day, and we won't have 10,000 employees on site. At one of our largest campuses right now, we've got, I think the max that they will ever have is 4,000, but at general peak times, it's about 2,500. And they're not operating on off hours.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 pages of notes from the sheriff telling me all the things that they were dealing with the additional, some some of the gravel truck drivers or material truck drivers, because some of it was sand or whatever, were, they'd have a load, and if they got a call for a load that paid more, they'd just dump it in the culvert and go and get the other load. So that would impact our road crew having to go, clear out culverts because there's people dumping material in culverts.
I would hope that that would never happen with one of our projects. Again, I can't say, what this other team was doing, but if it did, we would take care of that issue. We don't have people running amok in communities that are unsupervised and don't frankly have regular contact with us.
Yeah.
So
there's still the issue that all this expense on the county is going to happen before you're occupied or complete, and that could be 3 to 5 years.
that, Commissioner Samuelson, we could definitely talk about that if that's your biggest concern is the upfront costs of things. I'd like to learn a little bit more about exactly what those are, talk to Clint a little bit more about exactly how we could potentially help mitigate those things. We do have traffic study analysis. Okay, we do have traffic study or impact analysis already into TxDOT. There's still a lot of due diligence that's being done on the plan, so I think a lot of things will come to light. But if that's something that you want to discuss at greater length, we'd be happy to have that discussion.
We're still in the hearing.
What is your deal on this thing here? Spectrum, what's your recommendation? Is their concept plan wanting?
County road, which is the only county road up there is Holly and Coates. They've already mentioned that they want to improve Coates.
Improve how? Widen it?
Yes, do you want to come up here? Sorry, I brought a whole slew of people. They're hiding, but they're here.
Had no idea they'd be here till 6 o'clock.
Oh, yes, I figured. I'm Kathy Smith with HDR, and I'm a traffic engineer. So I prepared the traffic impact analysis for the project. It has been submitted to TxDOT. Given that the project would take access to the TxDOT roadway, it was my understanding that Hood County staff was going to defer to TxDOT in terms of their comments, but we have a copy of the TIA. We can certainly share it with anyone. And yes, the idea would be to widen Coates Road to at least 30 feet and then repair it, if needed throughout the life of the project.
Just Coates, what about?
They're not using Holly Court, so it would just be Coates Road, yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's 3 crossings, I believe, that are along Coates Road that probably need to be addressed. And so right now we're waiting to see what TxDOT's comments are going to be on the improvements that we've recommended in the TIA. So hopefully we'll get some comments back in the next week or so.
Did the TIA include more than just the TxDOT road?
So TxDOT criteria requires us to look at a quarter-mile radius around the site. And so we only analyzed Coates Road, and then there's a future access point they're proposing further south. And so that was complying with their requirements, but we have the ability to look beyond that. We did collect data all the way up to 377 and all the way down to 67. I actually drove out there. I've been out there a couple times, and the timing at 377 and Glen Rose Highway is not great. I waited there for a few minutes. I'm like, this could be so much better. So I mean, along the lines of what Andrew was saying earlier, we intend to be in communication with TxDOT throughout the project and update the signal timing as needed and look beyond what's actually required.
Other thing, part of the, conception plan down a little bit lower than what's on the screen now, there's a creek that runs down there. It's further down south. Building I think it's 180-foot bridge or something. I mean, it was a sizable bridge going across, that creek rather than, do any damage to that. I mean, that's just the detail they've already gone into.
Yes, sir.
I've got a map that I've got here. Christina's going to see if she can put it up here. It looks like that the project spectrum is just almost on the borderline between Hood County and Somerville County. It's just right there. Come here and look at this. We'll have it up here in just a second. Do you kind of agree in general that that's accurate? Huh?
On this map, if they'll pull it all the way to the bottom, you said, okay, pull it back down just a little bit. You see that line?
Yeah.
That dotted line
Yeah.
across there?
Yeah.
I believe that's the county line between Hood and Somerville County.
That is.
So, really, you're talking about, let me just be very blunt here. The nuclear plant was supposed to be built in Hood County. And the Commissioners Court back then, back in the 70s, I guess, was the 70s, said, no, we don't want the nuclear plant in Hood County. That's not going to happen. So they moved it, how many, a quarter of a mile, Patrick?
Not very far.
Quarter of a mile into Somerville County. And Somerville County has gotten millions of tax dollars. I forgot, I don't even want to say what y'all paid. What do you think they paid last year, Patrick?
I don't actually know, Judge, but you're right, millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars on the deal. Here, when I look at this, and y'all see that up there, it's, like this Patriot project, it's right in the center of the county. Then you look at Comanche Circle, it's right in Biloxi Valley, But this is just right on the county. The last thing I want to do is that they just move it a little bit. It seems like we're going to get all the disadvantages of the construction that you've been talking about, Commissioner Samuelson, all the influx of people, but no money again. And every time I see my good friend, County Judge Danny Chambers, he always smiles about me when I look at the big buildings and the low tax rate that they have and everything that's happened. And what was so funny about it is that the winds blow prevalently from the south. So that if something did happen at the nuclear plant, and by the way, I've been through all the safety deals up there, I've told the nuclear plant people that whenever they call me or tell me that something is going on and they make a suggestion, I'm going with the suggestion because they've never had any kind of accidents at that place in 76 years, right?
That's correct.
76 years, because they are so safe-minded, it's unbelievable. But if it did happen, Granbury would get the fallout quicker than Glen Rose because of the way the wind blows. Would you agree with that, Patrick? Or about the same
He
time?
probably doesn't want
That's
to.
a tough one, Judge, but yes, we've
He wants
absolutely,
to-
we're in the drills, we practice for that, depends on the prevailing winds, and that's, for a plume phase exercise.
Because, when FEMA comes down here, Danny Chambers and I are very good friends. What I like about all the county judges really stick together. There's not a competition. You can call up each other, help you out. But Danny and I, we do this. FEMA always gives us a very high rating because we're proactive and everybody works together so well. and everything. It's just that, you know, it's in a place here that all projects are different. And there's some projects that I have no desire for at all. But on this one, being where it's located, where all the power, the water comes from Vistra, which is already there, they're not going to use any more than what they've already been allocated. It's a whole different situation. Plus, did you able to get it up there, Christine? I look at that, but this shows it a little bit better. It's a little. Is that
Let me
it?
see if it,
Yeah,
let me
here.
go back to your messages and see if it's sent, because it hasn't come through yet to me.
I don't know why.
Maybe one of these big data center companies can pay for some better Wi-Fi for the county.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I mean, but it's almost, here's the beauty part, the city is almost in Somerville County.
Yeah.
So this where I could get back at Danny a little bit when do y'all see what I'm talking about? I mean, really and truly, it really is.
Let me see. You got a message send failure, but I tried it again.
Okay.
But we don't have a very good signal in here.
In here, you want to take it outside right quick? Because I
I know,
think
right?
this would really show it up. You know,
There you go.
Oh, I got
what
the
is the
number now.
closest neighbor around? Isn't it
He's called me already.
closest?
Oh, that's on Coates? Is that what it is? Yeah. I think there's 3 houses on Coates. Is that correct? Yeah.
What is he hating on y'all already?
Well, I have not met with him yet because we don't have a final project. But I think once a project would be final, we encourage any and all community outreach. So certainly if somebody is going to end up being a neighbor, we would want to talk to him. So
About hiding with the berms and stuff like that we talked about in the noise, the decibels, y'all guarantee
Absolutely.
it would be 65 where the county, the state level is 85 decibels. Y'all would agree to say that it would be 65. There's a lot of, you know, this is a complicated situation. I mean, it really is, folks. And the fact that what data centers are used for. I mean, there's a list of stuff.
There it is.
You know, how about this? That things that run on data centers, text messages, phone calls, email, social media, web browsing, search engines, photos and videos, streaming movies and TV, online shopping, credit cards, online banking, maps, GPS. I don't know how we used to get around without a GPS, but GPS and traffic directions, weather apps, ride sharing, food delivery, airline tickets, hotel reservations, smart TV, password managers, work email, remote work, cloud documents, business payrolls, inventory, supply chain tracking, package tracking, customer service chat, medical records and test results, telehealth visits and patient portals, prescription processing. I mean, stuff that I kind of wondered what, never had a data center in El Campo where I'm from, never had one around here, and then all of a sudden we're talking about it. But that's the kind of stuff that you're doing. It's stuff to say nothing about what Trump and Abbott want for the AI industry to keep ahead of China in that industry. So this is a very difficult situation here, and I understand about the rural aspect of keeping the county and not wanting anybody around here. I'm almost like Daniel Boone. If I see smoke in a distance deal, I'm ready to move. Somebody's getting too close to me. You know, that's what the old deal was about him. I mean, to see smoke on the horizon, he wanted to move. But, and I like, you know, like you said, Amazon has $2.5 trillion. They're going to be a good neighbor. I know you couldn't ask for a better person, a better neighbor than Vistra's been, and how I've done with Ken Peters and everybody up there. I really have worked with Patrick. I'll tell you this, the first time I met Patrick, he handed me a check for $50,000 from Vista. You remember that? Yes, I remember it very distinctly, helping out the community. It's the first time I had any dealings with Patrick Allen when you were in a different position then. But he handed me on behalf of the county for the emergency management type deal, a check for $50,000, being a part of the community. So,
what about?
Look at this, when you look at it, is this, you see where the project spectrum is right there, it's just right there on the line. Like I said, it's almost in, if it just went across the line and was built in Somerville County, if you're worried about noise and pollution and everything else, it'd be there. But I'm not with that because of what I trust Jack Wilson when he told me what he experienced in Canton, Mississippi. So,
About Pinkard
thing.
Court? Did you look at?
I'll address the rain, the water issue. There's actually two ways to look at the total water issue for Squaw Creek. Average rainfall per year is 35.22 inches per year in that area. A 1-inch rain over 1 acre creates 27,154 gallons of water. So using, that, Squaw Creek Reservoir has 3,272 acres in surface area. If you do the math, that equates to 3.13 billion gallons a year just going on to Squaw Creek. If you look at the runoff that goes into Squaw Creek from above it, now that number goes to 39.17 billion gallons of water a year. That's how much water is going through there. And because if you get 1 inch of rain on 1 acre, you got 27,000 gallons of water. That's verifiable numbers. So water, is not an issue.
And the power is not an issue.
Is Pinkard Court, did you look at Pinkard Court when you did your traffic impact? Pinkard Court?
Yeah, it's a street. No, ma'am, we did not analyze that. Is that an intersection on 144?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we basically looked at Coates Road, and that's a 4-way intersection. And then the access point that's shown on the south. We did data collection up and down that entire road, though, to look at traffic distribution assumptions. So we could certainly incorporate.
Yeah, do you want to see where it is?
Sure.
Mr. Yarborough, you ready still to come on up? Let him speak first. Okay.
So I haven't seen everything on this yet, but
State your
on,
name,
Brad Yarborough, 204 Donna Circle, here in Granbury, Texas. Now on this one, it doesn't have a power plant, so it's using Comanche Peak's power. If our grid is taxed like it was a couple of years ago, does this plant shut down? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So they do have backup power generation. So if there is tax, they can use that. And I mean, they're going to be following any type of regulations that we would normally have to if the grid was stressed. So.
Okay.
The backup power.
Residents first and then business.
What's the backup power plan?
So there's actually state law now where that grid or the power has to be available to the grid because of SB6. So that's why we have on-site generators. So we have a generator per building, and that's the backup generation plan. So we have biofueled diesel generators. They get tested once per month, and that once per month testing is probably the noisiest that you're ever going to hear from our facility. But that's what the backup generation is.
I've worked for a facility like that. That had the same generators.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
they're
come
tier 4 generators. They're the highest quality that you can get. Yeah.
I didn't know if Mr. Yarborough had anything else, if you would come to the mic, because you were,
Give me a second.
okay.
I'm thinking in my head here.
Ms. Kelleher, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Did I hear correctly that it's 65 decibels?
So our generators, generally when they're being tested, the maximum that they'll end up being at is about 65 decibels. And since that's the loudest thing on our campus, that's generally what we set the noise standard for. But I don't know if our noise folks want to address that, or did I say it right? Okay, yes.
Okay,
Like they're
and
running.
then so your typical daily operations would be at what decibel level?
So generally speaking, we try and operate at the fence line. Because a lot of that information is proprietary, we generally go by whatever the local regulation is. But I can tell you that what we're speaking at right now is about 45 decibels, and that's about what you can expect from our data centers.
Okay, so the data centers are at about 45.
Correct, yeah.
So, and the reason I brought that up is because I was reading the specifications on the Project Patriot, and I think the city's requiring 45 from them.
Yeah, we run into some problems in Texas where counties don't have the ability to regulate, and we don't, we normally can just rely on whatever the city or the county is regulating, and so it makes it a little weird not having a regulation to point to, if that makes sense. So,
Right, but
yeah.
do you, as a good neighbor?
Oh,
try to do
absolutely.
The higher standard,
Absolutely.
which would be the 45?
Yes, that's the way that our buildings are designed, yeah.
Okay.
But that's after, that's during operations, but what about during construction?
So during construction, I actually have no data on construction. Do you know? Yeah, sorry.
Wondering who you were too. Just say your name.
I've been sitting here all day.
Might be some
I know, you should do something to me.
Sure. I'm Jeff Szymanski. I live in Kansas City area, but I'm the noise consultant for this data center. And as far as construction noise goes, it fluctuates because it depends on what they're doing on a day-to-day basis for the construction. Generally speaking, what you hear complained about most is backup beepers. I mean, that's what that's what we commonly associate with construction sites. But the distances involved here, I wouldn't expect that to be any different than any other construction project that goes on.
It's just exponentially larger, so you compound all of that.
Yeah, and more equipment, and it will be. I mean, there will be times when it will be audible, and there'll be times when you won't even know what's going on up there. But all the equipment would follow all the right standards in terms of meeting Texas requirements on occupational noise, and that tends to keep things damped down pretty well.
Yeah, but just the exponential factor of, okay, you got 3 or 4 pieces of equipment versus 30 or 40 or 100 or 1,000 pieces of equipment, the noise level, it's not, what is it a factor of? We've had different people tell us if you put
well, it depends on what you're talking about. And noise, and there's a lot of things that go into sound propagation. But if you're talking about you have one bulldozer versus 10 bulldozers, 10 bulldozers will be 10 dB louder than one bulldozer. But that's if they're all sitting in the same place doing the same thing. So and they're not. So that's why I said it fluctuates. If it's needed, a more comprehensive construction acoustical study could be done. So.
Well, that's kind of been my life for the last 3 years, is the noise problems in my precinct. And that was one of the concerns I had with the discussion that we were having back in August and September, is the noise mitigation was after completion. And that's 3 to 5 years of noise that people
Yeah.
will be living with. And that's my precinct, the people living right there. So I want
Yeah,
to be
well,
sure that their
eh,
quality of life is protected.
And Andrea already mentioned that they use general contractors, and the responsibility for noise during construction usually falls to those contractors. And their selection of those contractors usually dictates that they're using folks who are used to dealing with those types of issues and addressing them when they come up. And if there are noise complaints, finding out what drove the complaint and addressing that.
But since they are contractors, that means you have a contract. So you can put stipulations in their contract.
Well, and ultimately, some of my partners in other states that I work in can tell you this. I mean, ultimately, they report to AWS. So that's why I say that our relationship is so incredibly important. I mean, I will tell you that our general contractor at the facility that you went to, they work very, very closely with our construction manager, who is an AWS employee. So, like I said, this is where, having my phone number, the construction team's phone number, we generally try and be really communicative with the team. So
thank you. And thank you, your team, for meeting with the folks in my precinct the other day.
A couple other
Appreciate that.
things I'd like to point out, and I know we've got a couple of people want to speak. Number one, this particular data center is what's called a closed loop system. I'll make sure everybody understands. The water, just going through the pipes, then it heats up and then it gets cooled down, it goes back through the pipes again. So the minimal amount of water that's going back through the wastewater treatment would be very minimal, if any, number one. The construction crew, when we were there, it was, kind of like in the military, it was ABCD, type operation, and there was not a whole lot of issues because right there where we parked on the site is a fairly, probably a 20-acre lake right there. And we watched ducks and geese come in and take off while we're standing there. So, I mean, that was what was going on that particular afternoon. So, I know we've got wildlife all around Squaw. I understand that. But, that's, one of the things that, just make sure everybody understands, the differences, at least in my opinion, of the sites that we've been talking about. And it's a big one. Okay.
Is it a closed loop system? Is it a closed loop system? Come on up.
You're going to talk, come up to the mic.
I think he's
Andrea, would
trying
you?
to avoid the question.
Andrea.
I mean, no.
Andrea,
yes.
before we're done, sorry, would you provide me the name of everybody that you brought with you so I can
Yeah,
have that?
absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Can you do what? Okay, so in essence, the way that the water is being pulled in, it gets pulled in from Squaw Creek and it gets treated through an reverse osmosis system. There is chlorine added for bacterial treatment. And then it goes through the sewer system and that chlorine is removed. So in essence, it goes in and comes right back out. It only does one pass though, correct? Is that correct? Oh, it is 6 cycles then. Okay. All right. So I lied. So it's six cycle pass, like the commissioner was saying. But the water that ends up coming out is actually cleaner than the water that came in. There's no additional chemicals added. It's not going to have any pollutants or anything like that in there. So to answer your question, yes, on the 6 times.
Not necessarily.
However you use it.
So it's from my understanding, it's less than 2% of Vistra's total water rights. And because Vistra has the water rights, I don't think that that's public information, but it's less than 2% of the existing rights that they already have.
So it's not, I mean, you're not really.
Challenge like this other one with having to drill 4 or 5 new wells in the upper Trinity.
Yeah, something else that I have found out since we met originally, I've learned a lot myself, Commissioner Eagle, is that in Texas, the average amount of time that we're actually planning to use water for, and this is across the state of Texas. So this means that the projects that we're looking at in West Texas, all the way to the east side of the state, the average is 17% of the year is when we will use water. The rest of the time we use ambient air to cool the data centers. So if you could imagine that we're only using the water during the very, very hottest peak times of the day in only specific parts of the year. So water is not used all year long.
The answer to the, is it a closed loop question is it's proprietary?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Well, it is a closed loop
okay.
system, yeah.
Okay.
He's being very technical, more technical than I would be, yeah.
But it still has to be charged and discharged.
Correct.
Periodically.
Yes, yep.
Do you know how many gallons that is?
It's less than 2% of Mistra's total water rights. Yeah.
10,000.
Sure, but I think that the point is, though, is that they're water rights that are already granted. So we're not taking any additional water from the system.
No additional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come up to the mic, please.
Oh, yeah. Comanche Peak, by contract, has on their FSAR, their, basically the site facilities that they have with NRC, is they have a certain amount of release rate they have to maintain down Squaw Creek all the time. And they pump water from Lake Granbury to make up water. Surface water temperature on that lake's hot. The only time of year it's not hot is almost the dead of winter. A lot of evaporation on that lake, but they have enough water rights from Granbury to bring in water. I don't know what heat load this is going to add on it. It may add some, I do not know. But if you're using it for cooling, you're bound to be adding a little, well, you're not, you're using fans on that thing. Yeah, so that's not heat load on that. So it's not going to add any more heat load in the lake. And they're basically using, there's pumping stations right down at the dam on the Lake Granbury, you know, where the old D. Cordoba plant used to be. Yeah. So you know where that is, Jack. That's where that's where they pump water, and it's not every day. They pump water in for makeup rate, but it's basically a loop. What doesn't evaporate off goes back
It's
down to
closed,
Squaw
it
Creek.
goes back to
and
Granbury.
down. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's how that works on that.
And that's also, just for information purposes, that particular pipeline is protected by Homeland Security and in the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Got this lady and that lady over there want to say something.
Hi, Andrea. I have two more questions. Okay, so, night skies. Everybody likes the night skies around here. And you may or may not be aware, but down south of Clifton, there is an observatory that's affiliated with the University of Texas. I don't know if you've been to it or not, but you know, it's really important to be a good neighbor as far as the night skies go. And is that part of your plan?
It is. Okay, so Commissioner Wilson saw this. So we have what are called full cutoff, fully shielded dark sky LED fixtures. So I can tell you, I took another group to Mississippi. When we came around the corner headed into our campus, there was a gas station over on the left. Our campus was on the right. It was nighttime. It was like already 7 o'clock at night. The gas station was 10 times more bright than our campus was. When you turn the corner, we have a fulfillment center actually across the street from the data center campus. It's actually more bright than our data center campus is because it got built earlier. So the lights that we use, the way that they're situated, they don't go up. So you can't see them unless you're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do y'all ever use those purple lights like they've been doing?
They kind of look like that, but they're not quite as purple as what I think you're probably talking about. They're a little bit more natural looking. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about being the best of the best and trying to be best of breed.
Sure.
So I've learned about this new system called an air joule system, where essentially it seems to me that they're creating distilled water by evaporation with the hot water or some other method, but it's to reduce the heat load that comes off of the data center. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay, take a
Sorry.
look,
Yeah.
look it up. It's AIRE-JOULE.
Okay, Air
Okay,
Joule. Got
Air
it.
Joule. So it's a system, and it's the latest, greatest. So, and I heard about it from my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So, because we're all worried about.
If it's the
heat
latest
load.
and greatest, I wouldn't be surprised if it was our technology, but I've not heard of it.
Well,
So,
I
yeah.
can only encourage you to take a look at
Yes.
that and see if the latest, greatest technology could be employed
For
here.
sure.
Because we don't need any more
I
heat
understand.
load in our
Yeah.
area. You know, it's already hot enough here as it is.
Yeah.
And the hotter it gets, the less it's gonna rain.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, the lady, ma'am, did you want to come on up?
This is about noise level.
Well, wait, you know, state your name.
My name is Belinda Barton Smith, and I own property on Deep Down Road, which is going to be 1.7 miles from Comanche Circle. But for spectrum on the noise level, will there be low-level noise, that 17 decibel noise that causes migraines and nausea and stuff?
The way that our buildings are set up, and I know a couple of the commissioners actually met with our acoustics team, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here, the way that our fans are situated and the way that the noise condensers, I don't know if that's the appropriate term, are situated, it prevents any type of low frequency, not any, but it prevents low frequency emission from reaching, like, say, out to your household. It also prevents like a cascade of noise, if you will. One of the things that they have found is that noise has a tendency to go like a waterfall, and so the way that the buildings are situated, it prevents exactly what you're talking about. There's additional things that we do too with the design where the buildings are facing one another, and the way that they're facing it causes sound to kind of bounce off of one another.
It's directional, so.
Yes.
So if they're facing, the sound's directional, so, from these sources, so if they're facing each other, they're just basically injecting noise into each building, but not necessarily out as much to the sides, so.
That's why I brought this.
Yeah, and they're, we call them silencers, but condensers is fine too, so.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
I know it's getting late, so I appreciate y'all staying late and letting us ask these questions and answer them. Going back to the power, do you have any study or do you know of any electric rates going up of where you built these so far?
You guys are asking all the right questions. So I actually have a study, and I can share it with the Commissioners Court. There was an independent agency called E3 that just actually conducted a study. Hang on, they looked at Indiana, Virginia, which has the largest group of data centers. Let me read this to you. A recent independent analysis by Energy and Environmental Economics found that when large data centers pay full cost of service rates, which we're doing here, and are structured with appropriate grid and transmission charges, they can reduce overall system costs. Because they add steady high load demand, they help spread fixed grid and generation costs across more kilowatt hours and improve asset utilization. In modeled scenarios, this translated into approximately $3 to $6 per month in lower electricity costs for neighboring customers rather than increases. Now, I don't know so much if that's going to happen here because I don't know if you provide the power locally, do you?
It goes to the grid.
Okay, well then it could. But in essence, what this study was finding, looking at 3 separate areas where we have mega campuses, is that the bill was actually reduced per customer per month.
Yeah, and I will say, so, you know, we already talked about the long-term viability of Comanche Peak and how this helps with that. But we have committed since 2020 and ending in 2028 to add over 3,100 megawatts to the grid. So we're building gas-fired power plants out in West Texas and different things like that. So we will be adding power back.
Okay, great.
Patrick, what about the SMRs? Is that on the plan? I know I ask you that every time I see you.
I know, every time I see it, right? Still the same answer. You know, we're definitely exploring every opportunity we can. SMRs are extremely interesting, me being a nuclear guy, so definitely something we're looking at.
But it's not in the 5-year plan or 3-year plan, or?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Wendell Meeks coming back. Thank you for recognizing me to come up, Mr. Wilson. Commissioner Wilson, I wanted to.
Mike Wolf.
Sorry, let me get a little taller. I'm sorry. Is that better? In my professional career, Amazon has been a business partner of mine. Usually I'm referring to a chief operating officer, et cetera, in the organizations. I've been on site in data centers in Arizona, FedRAMP data centers in DC, as well as in New York. And your assessment of their noise level is spot on. They're good neighbors to those communities. Of the projects you've looked at today, the one I spoke against, I think, is the one that's the most risk for a number of reasons. But this one is actually probably your safest one to move forward with. And Amazon is a good partner in their communities and do give back their neighborhoods. I understand some of your concerns, Commissioner Samuelson. Happy to chat with you offline about my experience with them in other areas. You guys might have some folks from HP that work in your organization. One guy runs the Americas sales. I know those guys from back in my day. But again, I just wanted to give you the encouragement that on this one, for the reasons you mentioned, Judge Massengill, and your information, Commissioner Wilson, that this one's probably your best proposal that you have, not just by weight, but also by thoroughness and best partner from personal experience I've had in my professional career. So thank you for letting me come back up and interject.
What was your career, and how was Amazon a partner of yours? What
So they were both data center partners as in terms of providing. So my background is in high tech. I started out with a computer science degree out of college, program for a few years, went into what is called pre-sales in the world of high tech, where you go and you do understanding of a client's issues and you see how well your technology matches. And fortunately, I was always in organizations teams that I was a part of or I ran. Globally, we had the right to veto sales campaigns that weren't good matches. So we made sure we were helping our customers and making sure our solution matched the needs. After a period of time doing that, I got moved into what would be called in the Amazon vernacular sales leadership, where I wound up running sales organizations for companies in high tech. Those included things like consulting services, and HPE, it was data center software services. So there were a lot of data center clients in there. Biggest one was a company called EDS that got bought by HP and became HP Enterprise Services. I worked for a smaller company in Austin, Texas called Civitas Learning. They took what now would be called AI, we called it machine learning back then, and looked at students in schools, higher education, and using services and models that ran as Amazon data centers, we helped predict students that were at risk so that they could be intervened on by the university and given extra help. And those were places where the Amazon folks helped us have customer events in multiple places where we had presidents and provosts from universities there, as well as the folks that ran student success programs on these universities to ensure freshmen stuck. Usually programs there were things around first generation students and first time in family students in the university, and making sure those folks were able to complete. And so we helped people increase those substantially, and that all came from running those models using data from the institutions being the schools, in Amazon data centers to provide that feedback and those signals in the data back to our customers. So I endorse them a lot from that. And I got friends that work at Oracle other places too. Gold standard, she said at the beginning, she's absolutely right. You're welcome.
I was going to say, for the record, we've never met before, so thank you.
Is this a paid political
No,
advertisement
yeah.
down here?
But we appreciate it. Yes.
What was your name again, sir? Oh, yeah. I wrote that down a couple hours ago. Thank you.
Awesome.
Anybody have anything else, or may we go home eventually?
I mean, I know we might as well just stay till 9 and make it a 12-hour session.
I heard there was pizza on there. No, I'm just.
Pizza in order. I'll get it fired up.
Okay. We gotta get out of the public hearing.
Okay. At 12 minutes till 7 p.m., we are closing the public hearing, and we are now convening into the Commissioner's Court. So,
I do have one more question. Is this a comprehensive drainage plan? I see a seal over here. Okay, preliminary, all right. Just for the sake of, Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I had to ask the question. That's yeah. So, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So,
Your recommendation.
well, I think for the
Is it-
sake of consistency, let's go ahead with the same terms that we've done the other ones. So I move to accept and conditionally approve the concept plan for Project Spectrum. Subject to the applicant's ability to evidence the following to the county's satisfaction prior to submission of a site plan application. A comprehensive drainage plan is required under the regulations, including significant demonstration to the county's Director of Environmental Health or the equivalent position that the on-site wastewater treatment plant will not generate treated wastewater greater than can be accommodated by the drainage plan for the site accounting for other occurring runoff and drainage, and certification of the standard of treated wastewater by the on-site wastewater treatment plant and disposal plan for sludge. The sufficient demonstration that the project won't adversely impact the watershed, adjacent property owners, or downstream landowners, users, or uses. Sufficient demonstration of the project's ability to meet the requirements of the Water Quality District. Sufficient demonstration of the ability to protect the rural character of the rural district from the project. Sufficient demonstration that the on-site power generation facilities will meet the approved criteria requirements under the regulations. Sufficient demonstration of the total water needs for the project, including the needs of any on-site power generation, as well as sufficient demonstration of adequate water facilities or resources to support such water needs. That, well, okay. Yeah. So, all right, we'll include that as a condition that all future PDFs be flattened for easier rendering, and the completion of a traffic impact analysis.
Made by Commissioner Andrews and second by Jack Wilson. I'm not even going to ask this any further discussion because this old dog's been kicked around here.
Well, I'm just going to.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Okay. And that's, I was
Passes
going to
3
say,
to 2.
the reason is because the information that was provided was unable to be reviewed by our attorney, so we can't really tell if it meets the conceptual requirements. So if you can't review it, how can you tell? So that's, anyway, are we adjourned?
Yes, we are adjourned here at 7 to 7. So remember that, please, if anybody's going to see that tonight.
I don't know who he is. It's the first time I've ever seen him. Yep. Okay. Judge?